So MCU Direct has a story about Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings coming out, well, whenever it comes out, because at this rate, who knows with the pandemic. I'm just being honest with you. But there are some spoilers here that they're breaking here about the film addressing the backstory of the Mandarin. And the problems with the Mandarin character from Iron Man 3 will be addressed in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So before we go any further, I just want to give you a warning that this is going to contain spoilers for Shang-Chi. Also, I want to be very honest with you in that, I grew up reading a lot of different comics. I read Avengers and X-Men and Spider-Man. Really, a lot of X-Men and Spider-Man. Those are kind of my favorites. And so I'm not familiar with Shang-Chi. Like, that's one of the characters that I did not grow up reading. I don't know much about him. So if you are a Shang-Chi expert, please feel free to leave comments and educate me on what I should know and give me some more information because I never really followed this character. But I do love the way the character looks. I love the way the character, like the idea behind the character. So I'm pretty excited to see where this goes. Now, going into this article right here, we're going to go into some spoilers here. Right now, it says the movie's set for release on May 7th, 2021. I think it will probably stick to that based on how the world is. But it talks about here, we're going to go into spoilers here. Of course, this is from Fandom Wire, MCU Direct. It says here that it details that Shang-Chi has a special power in the movie with the ability to clone himself as he fights, which is, again, we've seen that in Dragon Ball. We've actually seen Doctor Strange do something similar to that with, in his fight with Thanos. So it's not like it's a new power. But if you're a Dragon Ball fan, you see it all the time. Like, I do cover Dragon Ball on my main channel. He goes off saying this is based off his powers in the comics, which allow him to make clones of himself to do anything he wants at any time. And these powers are fully noticed by the film's primary antagonist, the Mandarin. Of course, that's a power that I'm sure most of us wish we could have. I know I certainly have. Have you ever seen the movie Multiplicity? If you haven't, it's a movie with Michael Keaton. It's a comedy, really good comedy. Michael Keaton and Andy McDowell. And in that movie, it's about a guy who creates clones of himself to try and handle other tasks in his life that he just can't get to because he wants to spend time with his woman and he's got other priorities he has to take care of. So he creates these clones. Really funny movie. But it goes on to say, because of Shang-Chi's power, he is raised in a very special orphanage for kids that are trained to fight, which is run by the Mandarin. Okay, so the real Mandarin, not, Ben Kingsley's character in Iron Man 3. Now, I can't speak for all of you, but I remember when Iron Man 3 came out, and I remember before I even saw the movie, I was told there's a twist halfway through, which is actually more than halfway, but there's a twist halfway through that kills the Mandarin and ruins him. And I'm like very angry about that. I didn't know what the twist was until I saw the movie. And then when I saw the movie, it was like, oh, this is what they did. Because if you remember Iron Man 3, the build up to the Mandarin, the way they built him up in the first quarter of that film and the way he destroys, Tony's mansion it was incredible stuff. Like the first act of that film is absolutely phenomenal. And with the Mandarin, he is a character who has always been Tony Stark's kind of arch nemesis in the comics. I didn't read a lot of Iron Man when I was younger, but I do remember the Iron Man Mandarin feud. I remember that vividly. And so when they had the Mandarin finally appear in the third movie, it was like, okay, it's different because it's not a Chinese man, but they did a lot of Bin Laden, like a lot of Osama Bin Laden sort of iconography, things like that. And so with the Mandarin, it was like I was looking forward to it. Then it turns out that it's not even the real Mandarin. It's whatever. Like, that movie has a lot of problems. It really, really does. Now we're going to get a fix for it, though. We're going to get to that here in a minute. So again, it goes on to say that Shang-Chi manages to escape the orphanage before running into the Mandarin again as an adult, which, of course, that makes sense. So we're going to talk about the original Mandarin back in the day. Mandarin promises the hero a chance at money and power, and he gives him a guarantee that he will stop chasing Shang-Chi if he agrees to fight in an epic and magical tournament. This sounds awesome, by the way. If this movie does not have the best fight scenes in all of the MCU as far as like Kung Fu goes, I'll be very let down. This needs to be a Kung Fu movie. Like, that's what it needs to be. It needs to feel like an old school Wu-Tang, not the rap group. You know what I mean? The Wu-Tang sort of Chinese wuxia, Jackie Chan, Bruce Lee style. That's what I want from this movie. Something that's a big departure from what we consider to be superhero cinema. And I think it could work. I think for Shang-Chi it could work. Black Panther had a little bit of that kind of stuff, but it had a lot of technology too. And we saw a little bit here and there, but a movie that's pretty much a Kung Fu superhero movie would be awesome. And this is the way they can go with it. It's different, it's unique, and it's something that'll make MCU Phase 4 feel like they're kind of really hitting the reset button and trying new things, which is what I want. So back to the article. Here we go. The very tournament that every kid in the orphanage trains their entire life to train for. I guess he means to fight in. So, moving on, it says here the tournament is set to feature all new characters never before seen in the MCU, featuring the likes of wizards, aliens, fighters, and even more well known characters that are still a mystery at this time. Interesting. I wonder who that could be. The winner of this tournament wins legendary 10 rings as the grand prize, of course, which give the wearer a new level of power. I find it very hard to believe the Mandarin would give up the 10 rings, but that prize is going to be part of the plot too. The Mandarin enlists Shang Chi to fight in this tournament and to win the rings for him, since his best days of fighting are behind him at this point in time. So that's what I was kind of thinking, that, okay, that makes more sense, but how are they going to tie it into the 10 rings from Iron Man 1, which is the original teaser for the Mandarin? Now, here's the part that's interesting. It says, the film will also address the outstanding issue for Marvel fans' ire with the Mandarin twist from Iron Man 3. The exclusive does not divulge much on this issue, only that it'll be dealt with at some point during the new film. So, I'm glad this is happening. The MCU has been pretty good, I would say, especially around phase 3. And the fact that they are acknowledging that Iron Man 3 had a major problem with the Mandarin, and the fact they know the fans were pissed and they're trying to fix it, that's always going to be appreciated. That's always something that I think people can look at Kevin Feige and Disney and Marvel and say, okay, you're doing us a solid right now, because that was a problem, and I feel like if they really give an explanation to that and actually tell us, okay, well, the Mandarin was, a prisoner, or Killian or whatever, Gillian, I can't remember his name, um, Ulrich, whatever, that something happened with him, or that, he was busy on another planet. If they give us an explanation about what happened to the real Mandarin, or maybe the fact that the real Mandarin always wanted to get at Tony Stark but never could, or maybe they could even show us a battle between Iron Man and the Mandarin that happened after Iron Man 3 but before Age of Ultron. They could do that. Actually, it's another way to weasel. It would be another way to weasel Robert Downey back into these movies, because they love to do that. But I think it would be actually pretty cool if we saw an Iron Man Mandarin fight, a real one, as a flashback in this movie. But to tell Shang-Chi, like, I've even faced off against the Iron Man, and show a little clip, of them actually fighting that was never shown to us in a movie. That could work. I mean, because time does pass between Iron Man 3 and Age of Ultron. So I feel like that could work. I think that's one way to do it, but I'm sure they'll address it in a different way than that. It says here that the report also reveals that Aquafina, he's named after the water, will be playing Fa Lo Sui in the movie, who will be repurposed as a love interest for Shang-Chi as a daughter of the Mandarin. Of course, they're going to change stuff around because the MCU has to do that sometimes. They have to, having her, I'm not too bothered by this, but because they have to make it tie in some special way. I think it's a little too derivative sometimes when they do it too much, but I'm not too bothered by that. But it goes on to say the character originally was portrayed as Shang-Chi's sister in the comics, not to be his daughter. It's a little weird because people, I guess, who read the comics are going to think that, okay, it's going to be his love interest, but it's his sister. Okay, I mean, but then again, part of me is thinking, does he have to have a love interest? Like, do all these movies, I know Peter Parker has MJ, but like, and obviously Pepper is with Iron Man for all these different films in the past. Cap, of course, has Carter, Agent Carter. But it's like, does every superhero have to have a love interest? I don't think it's necessary. Like, I see why they might be going for like a Bruce Lee type thing, but I don't see why it would be necessary to have Shang-Chi have a love interest that was supposed to be his sister. In fact, in some ways, having her be his sister and then having her not related to Mandarin, but having Mandarin do something to her, that might be just as relatable or even more so than having your girlfriend. Because, a love interests come and go in life. You know what I mean? Girls come and go. And if you're a girl, guys come and go. Or whatever your sexual preferences. People usually date more than one person in their life, but a sister is a strong bond. You know what I mean? A sister is a strong bond, and we haven't really seen that bond too much, except for maybe, I guess you can say, maybe Gamora, right? Like, there's that, and then of course In Age of Ultron, we have Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. I guess that's sort of last time we saw like a sister type thing. So then again, we also got Thor's sister, who's a prick. But I don't know. I think it could work out. It's just being the sister, but it's whatever. It's being changed. I can't really argue with it until I see the movie because it might be a change for the better. Who knows? Anyways, let me know what you think. Thank you for watching. Love you guys as always. Remember to take care of yourself and each other.